I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the fourth meeting of the Interim Veterans Military Affairs and Public Protection Committee. When we have roll call, answer where you are, in the room, in your Capital Annex office, or in your district. And we'll go from there. We're ready for the roll call.
Senator Higdon, Senator Kerr, Senator Meredith,
present in the room.
Senator Mills,
here in the room.
Senator Parrott,
in my district.
Senator Schroeder,
present remotely from the district.
Senator Smith,
present remotely from my district.
Senator Westerfield,
Here from Nashville remotely.
Senator Wilson,
Here in the room.
Senator Yates,
present by Zoom in Pro District.
Representative Blanton, Representative Bratcher,
here in my district in Louisville.
Representative Dossett, Representative Duplessis, Representative Freeland,
here in the room.
Representative Fugit,
Here in the room.
Representative Gentry, Representative Gooch,
Here in the room.
Representative Hart,
present on site.
Representative Cook,
Here in the 72nd District.
Representative Lewis,
present remotely from the 14th District.
Representative Maddox,
present remotely.
Representative McCool,
Here in the room.
Representative Minter, Representative Sharp,
Present in the room.
Representative Stevenson,
Present in the district.
Representative Tackett Lafferty,
Present remotely.
Representative Wesley,
Here in the room, sir.
Representative Wheatley,
Here in the room.
Co-Chair Thomas,
Here in the room.
and Chair Embry.
Here in the room. Do we have a quorum? Okay, we have a quorum. Do I have a motion that we approve the minutes? Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
They are approved. I have an important health appointment in Lexington today, so I will not be able to conclude the meeting, but our very capable co-chairman, Representative Thomas, will take over when I need to leave. We're ready to start the agenda. Is what's that? Oh yeah, here we go. Pledge of Allegiance, Representative Freeland. To the flag, United States of
America,
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
Justice.
liberty.
Okay, for
Justice.
the prayer, Senator Meredith.
No.
Amen.
Logan, mute as many as you can.
Okay, we ready to start with the agenda item dealing with Fort Knox? Is Colonel O'Brien online?
Yes, sir.
Okay, proceed with your presentation.
All righty, sir. We're going to bring these slides up here real quick, but I just want to say thank you to the committee for the invitation to do something I truly enjoy, and that's talk about Fort Knox. But to just give some...
Check that they can see the slides.
Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay. And so again, like I said, I truly enjoy talking about Fort Knox. This is my second time here, and this was my number one choice of installations to come back in command. So truly grateful for that. Feel I'm blessed on that one. And one of the main reasons that I wanted to come back here is that the overwhelming community support we get from our neighbors in and around Fort Knox. And I told this story yesterday when I was talking to some folks in Radcliffe, is that my oldest daughter at the time, when we were in Germany, I told her we were going back to Fort Knox. She almost started crying. It wasn't because she was sad, it's because she was super happy. But to give some props to my brother down the road, Andy Jordan, this year, or as far as for 2020, we fall under different divisions within the Installation Management Command. And Fort Knox was deemed the best garrison for 2020 within the Training Directorate. And then Andy down the road at Fort Campbell was the best for the Readiness Directorate. So it's awesome that the Commonwealth has two of the top two garrisons throughout the Installation Management Command portfolio. And with that, we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is our mission and vision. And one of the big things, the Army's two top priorities are people and readiness. And we say here at Fort Knox is people first and readiness always. And my job here at Fort Knox is to ensure that our infrastructure and our training facilities and our ranges are kept up to date and kept modern so we can ensure that we are enabling readiness. But at the same time, I have a great team of folks here who have strategic vision and getting after the fact of taking care of our soldiers, their families, and our civilians. So that's one of the big things my team delivers, is those services and ensuring that our quality of life here on Fort Knox is one of the best for our soldiers, families, and the civilians that live and work here. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So as you can see, we have 9 general officer commands that reside here on Fort Knox, and we per capita have more general officers than any other installation. And the thing that is amazing with this is that we have worldwide mission sets that we deal with. So we have 5th Corps that is part of taking care of the European problem set. We have 1st TSC that's over in the Middle East that are providing logistics and sustainment to our war fighters in that region. And then we have a nationwide mission between USAREC, U.S. Army Cadet Command, and so on and so forth. So our motto here at Fort Knox is strength starts here. And I want to break that out for you a little bit, just so I can explain it a little bit better. And I truly believe that the future of the Army and strength starts here is something that Fort Knox has got a key part in. So first of all, we have U.S. Army Recruiting Command. And U.S. Army Recruiting Command trains and validates all of our future recruiters. And those recruiters are going out and bringing new soldiers into the wall of our nation's defense every day. So without U.S. Army Recruiting Command here at Fort Knox, we would not have recruiters that were recruiting new soldiers. We also have U.S. Army Cadet Command, which by far is the largest organization producing newly commissioned second lieutenants every year. All of those new second lieutenants, when they come here as cadets, and they are trained and validated on their future potential to become second lieutenants and young leaders in the Army. And without Fort Knox, they would not be executing that. Also, Cadet Summer Training is the largest recurring training event for the Army. And then along with that, we have the HRC, the Human Resources Command. And Human Resources Command, for the most part, manages a soldier's career from the time they step foot onto duty until the time they decide, whether it's after their initial obligation or, like me, at some point retiring. So again, strength starts here. Without the things that are on Fort Knox, we would not have new soldiers. We would not have new leaders. Oh, by the way, we also currently have the Command Assessment Program, which is the current program that brings all the future personnel that could be battalion commanders, brigade commanders, command sergeant majors, and a couple of other different areas. And so without that program being hosted here at Fort Knox, the future battalion commanders, brigade commanders, so on and so forth, again, that gets back to the future of the Army. Along with that, we also have, I think, some of the premier training locations within the continental United States. We have a platform for joint, multinational, and interagency training, and we have a lot of ranges here that are, I call them one-offs that you just don't see a lot. We have a 360-degree live fire range on the Salt River that some of our joint friends utilize quite a bit. We have the new Dagger range, so the digital air-ground integration range. It's being built on Yano, the old tank range. It'll be up probably late in 23. That is the only one of its kind in this area. And actually the closest one is at Fort Bliss. So we expect for that to get a lot of use as it becomes open, whether it's with our aviation crews, or our maneuver folks, or our special operations forces brothers and sisters. But beyond that, again, strength starts here for sure. And we are the future of the Army. Next slide, please. And so it's hard to, I would say, stovepipe or pigeonhole the role of Fort Knox. We are not the home of the 101st. We are not the home of the 1st Cavalry Division. We are not the maneuver center of excellence like they have down at Fort Benning. But what we do have, again, is those 9 GEO commands, worldwide missions, as well as that central role in recruiting, training, and supporting the warfighter. I kind of already discussed strength starts here, the future of the Army, and how critical that is. But again, multifunctional. So we support several different types of mission sets with these general officer commands, along with training for active duty, National Guard, reserve component. We actually have a police department that's operating up in our Zussman Urban Operations Center today. So we, like I said, we're multifunctional, and we are all about getting after some readiness. The other thing that we're very proud of is, based on the storm that was here in 2009, we had some leadership focus that developed what has now become the Army's first 100% energy secure and energy independent installation. And it's only because of that, that storm that we had in 2009 that we got there. We are years ahead of any other installation when it comes to our energy secure and our energy independence. And once we get our water treatment facility online here, probably sometime in November, we'll also be able to produce our own energy to produce our own water. So we'll kind of have an islandable, if you want to kind of look at it as islandable, we can take ourselves off the grid if need be, based on contingency operations. And then the future of the Army, I won't belabor that anymore, but I'm a true believer that, without Fort Knox, the future of the Army would look a little bit bleak. And then I won't talk a whole lot about the economic portion. I'll let General Iacocca get on that. But I just pulled that Fort Knox is an economic beast. I was meeting with the Lincoln Trail Area Development District folks, and one of them told that, and I wrote that in my notebook. I was like, that's true. As a Fort Knox is an economic beast. Along with that, I'm a strong believer that the strength of Fort Knox is directly related to the strength of our neighbors and communities surrounding Fort Knox. Next slide, please. And so our community linkages, our intergovernmental support agreements. Currently, we have 3, and they're all with Hardin County, and we're always looking to get after that and get more of those, because they are beneficial to both ourselves as well as the local communities. And we're always looking at the possibility of possibly with the state of Kentucky as far as support agreements, things such as road maintenance or environmental or recycling. We're always looking for ways to better integrate ourselves within the community. KCMA, General Bullard, great asset to have. He flattens comms for us and gets a lot of information to it. So we're all kind of seeing the same thing. The KDVA, I actually got to take part in their 9/11 Patriot Day ceremony here recently at the Veterans Cemetery. First rate event. I got to hear Commissioner Allen speak on that. So again, a great relationship there. KRDA, General Iacoki, and we had Beth Avey in the room as well. I think you can tell we're pretty well linked in together as I'm sitting in his conference room taking this committee meeting. And then again, the LTAD Lincoln Trail Area Development District. We've actually got our compatible use plan executive steering committee is happening next week. So we're looking forward to that. Kentucky Career Center is crucial as a major cog in benefits for helping our transitioning, not only our transitioning soldiers, but our military spouses as well, as far as career development and finding careers. So we're very thankful for our partnership with them. And then we have the whole, the gamut of civic organizations here that have wrapped their arms around the installation. And it all gets back to, again, this is the most supportive community I've ever been in my 23 years in the military. And I'm lucky enough that this happens to be my second time. And then colleges and university, we actually have 4 Kentucky universities here on campus. We have ECTC, Sullivan, University of Louisville, and Western Kentucky are present on our campus. And then our way ahead, one of the things we're looking forward to is we have a little bit of a deficit of housing here on the installation, but we are expecting next spring to start breaking ground on 54 bedroom houses. And that will benefit our soldiers quite a bit and their families. The military housing area is under review. What we've seen, and it's kind of tied into our housing deficit. We have a couple hundred families that are living up in the Louisville area in Jefferson County. And so what we're looking to do is try to get our basic allowance for housing to also encompass that area, because right now it doesn't. And we have some folks up there in Louisville that are paying out of pocket. Another great news story, Banduras Elementary. It's projected to be open. The new construction will start. It's projected to be open for the school year in 2024, 2025. And it is our oldest school. I think it's 63 years old. So we'll have 3 extremely modern 21st century schools here on the installation that will only benefit our military kids. The Kentucky Wired Project, I just recently approved the agreement with LG&E to, I don't know, the pole agreement, I think is what it was. So very excited to do that and get some, fiber and high speed internet out to everybody there in Kentucky. And then, although we didn't quite see it all the way through, we're still supporting any kind of efforts we can get with Baptist Health. We have the clinic right outside Wilson Gate, and we're always looking to increase those services because it's just a benefit to us as well, as far as our military families go. And the one thing I do have, and I always kind of seem to be in the deficit for this one as well, is childcare. So currently, I'm just like everybody else in the state. I'm dealing, with the effects of COVID on employment and things like that. And we're always seem to be coming up short as far as childcare that we can provide here on post. So if I could get any advocacy for a way ahead, or, just in the future for military childcare in your neighborhood, that would be great. There's only 4, I think, within 50 miles. And the military care in your neighborhood, actually, they abide by what our child development center standards are. So that's kind of a little bit different than your normal child care outside the installation fence. We've got 4 of them in the area that are within 50 miles, but the closest one's in Louisville. So that can put some of our families at a little bit of risk. But other than that, and pending your questions, I'll pass it over to General Iacoca.
Okay, just give me a minute while I switch slides here. But while I'm doing that, as Colonel Bryan said, one of the things I really like doing is talking about Fort Knox and this great community. I had 29 years in the Army, had the opportunity to serve at multiple different locations, but when it came time to retire, this is where I wanted to settle. And so my wife and I, before, pardon me, I'm trying to get this screen to the screen I want it to be. Before we had retired, we bought our property here, and this is where we wanted to settle. We're very happy. And I will tell you that of all the places I've been, this is, of all the places I wanted to be, okay, I'm having a problem here. Pardon me here. All righty. All right, let's try this again. I apologize for this. There we go. I think. Okay, I assume you can see my slides now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. So, of all the places I've been, it was really, Fort Knox, where the community and the post were so well connected. I only experienced that one other place, and that was when I would go TDY to Fort Campbell. So it must really be a Kentucky thing where the posts, I'm at 10.5 years at Fort Bragg, but never any connections like they had here on post. I don't want to spend too much time talking about KRDA, but I think it's important to note that, the Knox Regional Development Alliance was born out of the core committee, which had existed for over 20 years. And so that was put together by businessmen and women who recognized the importance of Fort Knox to this region. And so they created the core committee. And in 2017, they realized, hey, we needed a full-time organization to stand up and work relations between Fort Knox and the community and to advocate to folks in DC, and I'll cover that on the next slide. And so KRDA was established. We are managed by a 28-person board, which consists of ex officio members, which are mayors and our judge executives, and some that are selected through a nomination process. Currently, 64 organizations invest in KRDA to help maintain payroll, maintain our office, money to do events. We're doing a very large community reception for the leaders on Fort Knox on the 30th of September, and the money goes to events like that, and of course pays for our travel to go to DC and various conferences to talk about Fort Knox and the greater Fort Knox region. So our first objective is to protect those missions that are here and advocate for new missions. We maintain communication with our congressional liaison, as well as our leaders in the Pentagon. COVID we'd make multiple trips a year before COVID. Since COVID, we've been maintaining most of our contact through telephone or Zoom conferences, but we are still connected with our congressional delegation and our military leaders. We work with a lot of defense contractors. Since we've been established, a lot of defense contractors will reach out to us. In fact, we had a conference with one last night that we helped connect with HRC. They were having trouble getting to the right people. They called us. We got them to the right people, and they've now have a relationship where they can go in and talk to HRC. That one happened to be with Human Resources Command. We've done them with other commands on post. We do not advocate for those contractors. We simply make the connection, and it's to them and the Army whether they have a service that the Army wants to deliver. But again, we share opportunities and make those connections. Colonel O'Brien talked about the public partnerships that they've been working with Hardin County. That's one of the things that, KRDA has been tangentially helpful with that, but really Hardin County government and the post have really taken the lead on that. Opportunities for soldiers and their families. We established with consultation with Fort Knox, a greater Fort Knox website that sits outside the military domain, where family members coming to Fort Knox can see all things that they need to see about the community before they get there. Hospitals, housing, schools, churches, utilities. It's really a one-stop shop. So if you're interested in seeing it, it's at greaterfortknox.com, and you can see that. And it's built by proximity to the post, and it highlights each region and their proximity to the post. Also working with our friends at Fort Knox and Human Resources Command, we created the first ever military spouse employment initiative. There's other folks that have done this now, but what this allows, a military spouse before ever even coming to the region can go to the Kentucky Career Center. We partnered with Knox and the Lincoln Trail Area Development District and the Kentucky Career Center, and they can see what jobs are there. They can reach out to have a counselor help them with resume development. And Beth created a network of community people to be community connectors. And so we can connect them with the business sector that they're interested in, and they can have somebody that can be prepared to receive them and have a cup of coffee with that military spouse before they get here. And we've also worked with, as Lance was talking about, ECTC, we created the coding academy with them. They created the coding academy. We brought the need to them and helped them develop with contractors. Empty positions on Fort Knox all the time in the contract and the government civilian job side for computer contractors or computer code developers. And so ECTC created the coding academy, which teaches the Java certificates and Sec Plus and those skills that are necessary for those jobs. They've run 2 classes, getting ready to do a 3rd, and those folks are sought after by contractors in the region with contracts on Fort Knox, and eventually those folks will fill those GS positions as well. And of course, we market Fort Knox with our political leadership and with leaders around the country. When we go to different defense community conferences, we talk about Fort Knox and the things that we're working there. Colonel Bryan touched on it a little bit, but I'll go expand on Fort Knox's regional impact. That's $2.6 billion that Fort Knox injects into the economy. Now, really, that is worldwide contracts, but they all do come through Fort Knox. Colonel Bryan talked about the nature of Recruiting Command and HRC. Those are worldwide organizations. But $750 million in payroll stays right here in the greater Fort Knox region. Prior to COVID, as you all know as well as I do or better, that impacted the jobs. Still 22,000 jobs pretty much on post. The Department of Defense wasn't affected, but that 13 indirect jobs off the installation has been impacted. But as we come out of the pandemic, I think that we'll see that to pre-pandemic levels and maybe even better. The points that I really want to dig into a little bit here, and Colonel Bryan touched on it, is Fort Knox strategic importance. The Army's #1 priority is people. And as Colonel O'Brien said, without Fort Knox, there are no people. Recruiting Command, Cadet Command, Human Resources Command, all those commands that generate force and maintain the force in the Army are located here. So without Knox, there is no people. There are 4 core headquarters, 4 3-star headquarters in the Army. And one of them happens to be here at Fort Knox, raising the strategic importance of Fort Knox. And Colonel O'Brien touched on 1st Theater Sustainment Command. 1st Theater Sustainment Command is the sustainers, the joint sustainers for the entire Middle East theater of operations, headquartered here and always has soldiers deploying and redeploying. A little bit about the nature of defense communities. We're all competing for the same opportunities and the same defense dollars. While each may offer something a little different, and a little different advantages and disadvantages, everybody is working for those same things and all working to be recognized. Though we do have some unique advantages here in Kentucky and in Fort Knox in particular. DOD, the Department of Defense, has released several studies on the impacts of climate change on military installations. And Fort Knox is not impacted by climate change. That's a really big thing, to be able to have your region not impacted by climate change. Cost of living here is advantageous. Quality of life here is exceptional. And as Colonel O'Brien talked about, the range facilities on Fort Knox are first class with no restrictions. And so those of you that may have a military background may know that there are, Fort Benning, Fort Bragg, they all have environmental restrictions on their training area, whether it's the red cockaded woodpecker, the woodland turtle, whatever it is. Fort Knox has no such restrictions. They did have one time the Indiana bat, but they built bat houses outside of the training area to move that population. So unrestricted training, and I cannot stress how important that is in just the space by itself. He touched on housing. They are building housing on Fort Knox. And we do have communities that have heard the call for housing from Fort Knox. And there are communities that are working to build 3 and 4 bedroom homes here in the greater Fort Knox region. Because right now, and I actually live in Jefferson County myself, I don't mind the commute, but there are soldiers that could not find housing in the military housing area outside Fort Knox. And so they had to travel, up into Jefferson County to find housing. Some people do that by choice, but in this case, many soldiers were forced to do that just to find housing. But we're working to solve that here in the region. And as Colonel Bryan said, to expand the MHA, the military housing area, which would increase allowance for housing. Proximity to medical care, wonderful medical care at Baptist Health Hardin, wonderful medical care in Louisville. But when the hospital went to a clinic on post, a lot of soldiers and families have to go off post. We worked with the installation, as Colonel Bryan said, to submit a Defense Community Infrastructure Program grant to expand the Baptist Health Hardin Clinic right outside the Wilson Gate. Unfortunately, the project wasn't approved through the DSIP grant, but we are working some other avenues to get that there. Vehicle sales tax. So this is one that I just want to discuss. And when I was on active duty, I paid to register my vehicle. And if I didn't pay sales tax someplace else, I had to pay the sales tax here. And then, I didn't have to pay ad valorem tax every year. So I want to be clear, I am not advocating that soldiers not pay the registration fee. What I'm advocating for is if I buy a vehicle in Texas and then move to Kentucky, Texas doesn't charge me sales tax. And I get here to Kentucky and I have to pay all that sales tax just to register my vehicle. Had I bought that vehicle in Kentucky, I wouldn't have paid sales tax. And you don't collect ad valorem tax every year on that vehicle. So I just think it's to me almost disconnected in the fact that if I buy it here, I don't pay sales tax. You don't charge me ad valorem tax. This is active duty soldiers only. But if I move here, I have to pay all the sales tax or whatever portion I didn't pay. And that may not sound like a lot, but if you're a young soldier and you're in Europe or you're in Texas or you're in a place that's not going to charge sales tax and you buy a nice vehicle and you get here and you might get hit with a $3,000 fee when you register your vehicles, you have to pay sales tax. And unfortunately, that's driving some soldiers to go get Army emergency relief grants to be able to pay that. Now, I've discussed this with Representative Tate, and Representative Tate is championing this cause. Unfortunately, I don't know the true impact to the Commonwealth. I don't know how much sales tax is collected from active duty soldiers when they come to register that. And unfortunately, I have no way of determining that. But again, I appreciate Representative Tate taking that one on. And the retirement pay income tax. I feel a little funny talking about this one because this is one that would benefit me directly, but it is a talent attraction thing for the Commonwealth, particularly to our brothers and sisters at Fort Campbell, right along that Tennessee border. But KCMA has been working on this for a long time, and it really is a talent attraction and retention when there are other places that they can go, and again, particularly at Fort Campbell. And with that, if there's any questions that you have for Colonel O'Brien or myself, and I will stop screen sharing to allow the next person to get set.
Okay, before we go to questions, yes, we have 6 more items on the agenda, so our time is slipping away. I would ask that the next presenters try to limit their presentation to 10, no more than 15 minutes. And we'd like to have time for questions. So does anyone have any questions regarding this first presentation? Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General, I understand about the vehicle sales tax because when I retired and I moved back to Kentucky, I got hit with that pretty hard. So I'm going to be looking for Representative Tate and working with her everywhere I can to help out the active duty soldiers on that. And
thank you.
I just want to say thank you for your service and let you know I understand the vehicle sales tax issue.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Are there any other questions by any members? If not, General Akoko and Colonel Bryan, we appreciate y'all both being here. And even though it was virtual, but General Ikoka, you and I have seen each other quite a bit recently, so good to see you, sir. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our next. We have U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We have Brandon Brummett. Louisville, is he here in person or online there? He's on Zoom?
I'm online. I'm online. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, and we can see your slides. You already got them pulled up. So with that, we'll let you introduce yourself, if you don't mind, for the record, and we'll let you proceed.
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for having the Corps of Engineers Louisville District be able to present to you guys this morning. I'll try and my wife always says that sometimes I talk too fast, so I'll try and continue that, but not go so fast that people can't understand me, to try and keep us on schedule, because I myself, this is the first of 3 webinars I'm doing today, and every one of them on a different platform. So just the fact that I could get my slides up is already made my day. But thank you all very much. On behalf of our commander, Colonel Crispino, I'm presenting for the Louisville District. Proud to do that. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it today. We're not quite, I think we're 8 days away from our fiscal year ending. And so it's a very busy time for us in the Louisville District. So without further ado, I'll kind of get going here. First off, when I talk to people about the Corps of Engineers, I just like to show them this slide to show where the Corps of Engineers offices are located. And as you can see, it's really worldwide. So a lot of people don't realize that we've got folks literally all over the world. So I also tell people a little bit about how we're organized. We are a federal agency, but we're under the Department of Defense. So we're kind of a strange hybrid agency, unlike a lot of other federal agencies that folks would work with. At each level, we're headed up by military officers. The district level is where I work in the Louisville District. Our commander is Colonel Eric Crispino. He's not quite a year and a half, I think, into his tenure, which will be 3 years with us. So he's not quite halfway through his stint as our commander. He reports to Colonel Kimberly Peoples, who just assumed command of our Great Lakes and Ohio River Division, which is located in Cincinnati, Ohio. And then she reports to Lieutenant General Spellman at headquarters in Washington, D.C. And you can see pictures of all those fine folks here on the screen. But if you'll notice, the top box there is blank, and that's because we're still awaiting confirmation of the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works, which is a political appointee. And typically, whenever there's a change in administration, we get a change in the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works. So hopefully here before too long, I'll have a picture of somebody to put in that box too. But the one thing I always tell folks is if you've got a question about something that's going on with the Corps of Engineers, it's best to start at the district level, because that's generally where most of the action is happening. That's where the contracts are being awarded. That's where the designs are getting done. That's where we're meeting with stakeholders. So I always tell people to go straight to the horse's mouth and start with at the Louisville District level. So a lot of folks have asked us, as you can see, we've got almost 1,200 district employees, most of whom are civilians. Some of the projects we do take a pretty long time to get done because they're large projects. So people ask us, well, with your leadership rotating in every 2 to 3 years, how do you maintain that continuity? And it's the other folks you see on this slide here. Most of them have worked for the Corps of Engineers for a majority of their careers, some of them as long as 40 years. I myself have worked for the Corps of Engineers for almost 26 years. So we're able to help provide that stabilizing force as our leadership is changing. So when we talk about the Corps of Engineers in Kentucky, and hopefully the colors come through on this slide, if you look in far eastern Kentucky, there's kind of a pinkish color there. That's the part of the district that the Huntington District out of West Virginia manages. The part that encompasses the larger portion of the Commonwealth is the Louisville District, which is where I work. And then in southeastern and southwestern Kentucky, you can kind of see a cream color there. That's our Nashville District. And then in far western Kentucky, down past Paducah, we've got the Memphis District. And what I always tell folks is if they're having a hard time figuring out what district they're in, just call any one of us and we'll help sort it out and keep it easy for you guys. So some of the things that we do out of the Louisville District, most folks are familiar with our civil works missions. You know, we've got a lot of lake projects, locks and dams. We support our military customers, Colonel O'Brien, you spoke on several projects that I think we're joined at the hip with you guys on. So it's always good to hear about progress there. We do support the U.S. Army, the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Army, and the Air Force Reserve, or Army Reserve and the Air Force Reserve. We support other federal agencies, EPA, FEMA, other federal agencies. We support the VA. For those of you guys, which I'm sure you have been paying attention, just last month, the contract was awarded, $840 million contract to build a new VA medical center right here in Louisville. And that's a personal project that I'm excited to see because my dad's a veteran, served in the U.S. Army, and he goes to the VA for a lot of his medical appointments. So it'll be nice to see him get a nice new facility to work with. So we're excited about doing that project. We have environmental missions, formerly used defense sites, installation, remediation, base realignment and closure. We do a lot of emergency management work. We do real estate work. So Colonel O'Brien talked about, is the recruiting command is there. If you go out to a shopping mall or a strip mall and see a Armed Forces recruiting center, generally our Louisville district had a hand in helping get that lease there. So kind of a neat mission to be involved with. We're just finishing up FY21, so we're kind of waiting on what the final pie chart is going to look like. But this is our fiscal year 22 total program. So we're looking at a total program within the Louisville district totaling over $1 billion. Most of that's support that we do for the military, for the Army, for the Air Force, Army Reserve, and Air Force Reserve. You can see that we do work for other Corps of Engineers districts. We have a civil works mission, an environmental mission, and then the IIS stands for International and Interagency Services, which is generally the work we're doing for the VA. And folks are going to say, well, you're building this new hospital. How come that's only showing, a small amount for IIS? And that's because if you would look at our pie chart for this year, that contract was awarded. So it got put into this year. And last week I checked with our contracting officer, which now is the time of year where their hair's on fire because they're so busy. But she said they're anticipating having over 2,200 contract actions awarded in fiscal year 21, with a total amount of contracts of over $1.38 billion. So by the end of next week, that's what we're looking to have targeted for this fiscal year. So that's a whole lot of economic impact that's coming out of the Louisville district. So talking about our civil works missions here, you can see the district boundaries here. People ask me who drew those boundaries, and it's really Mother Nature. Basically, whatever drains into the lower Ohio is in the Louisville district. So we cover a good chunk of Indiana, most of Kentucky, part of Ohio, and a good chunk of Illinois as well. When you talk about civil works, that's what folks think about when they think Army Corps of Engineers a lot of times. They'll think about our flood risk management missions, whether it's our lakes, our levees. They'll think about our navigation mission with our locks and dams. And, when you think about our lakes, not only are they a flood risk management project, which is what they were primarily built for, they also have an important economic driver with them from the recreational visits. So just some of those economic numbers, our flood risk management projects have provided over $1.4 billion in flood damages reduced since their inception to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Our navigation industry is over $3 billion in benefits. And our lake projects average over 16 million visitors per day, or visitor days per year in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And that leads to almost $800 million of spending within 30 miles of the lakes. And when you compile all that together and figure out the economic jobs created, each year our lake projects in the Commonwealth of Kentucky generate over 8,000 jobs. So that's pretty significant. When you look at our military boundaries, the boundaries are a lot easier to see. It's just state boundaries. So we support the military installations in Kentucky, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana. So Scott Air Force Base, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. We're doing some work at the Crane Naval Surface Warfare Center, and of course Fort Knox and Fort Campbell in Kentucky. So a lot of work there, and we're always proud to do what we can to support our armed forces there by building them new facilities, whether it's housing, whether it's elementary schools. whether it's the HRC itself. We're always proud to handle those missions. But over the years, our familiarity with building those facilities for the military allowed us to pick up a couple of optional customers, and these are nationwide missions. So we handle nationwide design and construction for the Army Reserve and the Air Force Reserve. So you can kind of see our Army Reserve program numbers here. Quite a bit of work coming on through there, and we're always glad to do that. When you go in the one of the gates there at Fort Knox, you can look off and see a Army Reserve Center. That was one of the projects that we were in charge of getting built. I myself worked on this mission several years ago, and most of my projects were strung out all over the country. My wife's glad that I'm home a little more now than what I was back then, because I was literally all over the country and on any given day. But similarly, our Air Force Reserve program is also a large mission for us. And those are customers that we don't take lightly, because they didn't have to come to the Louisville district. They could have done work with whoever they wanted to from the Corps of Engineers, or not even necessarily use the Corps of Engineers. But they really liked the way that we worked with our military customers and our other partners. And so they went to our headquarters and basically lobbied on our behalf that said, hey, we want Louisville district to be in charge of all of our projects. Now, we do partner with the local geographic districts to provide that boots on the ground construction support. But we're very proud of those missions, as we are our regular military missions and our civil works missions, because we're really able to help out a whole lot of people. You hear the old adage where people say, well, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And people kind of tuck and run when they hear that. But in reality, that's really what the Corps of Engineers is about. We're here to help people. And with that, we always say that we're Louisville proud. You can see some photos of some of our projects there, and a lot of our good people within the district doing great things. And with that, I'll hush and answer any questions you guys may have.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate the great presentation and very quick and informational there. So thank you for doing that. We do have one question, Representative Blanton.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Brummett, thank you for your presentation today. I've got a question that may be more fitting for the Huntington District, but just a general overall question. With the Army Corps of Engineers controlling most of our lakes, especially in eastern Kentucky, or are under the management of the Corps, having traveled and fished on lakes from Alabama to New York, there is a lot of opportunities for putting homes around these lakes. Oftentimes it's vacation homes, but it provides for an increase of tourism and even permanent residences. But we don't seem to have that ability on our eastern Kentucky lakes that are managed by the Corps. I'm wondering why that is, and if it's a conversation we can begin to discuss to open up some of the lands that surrounds these East Kentucky lakes to provide for opportunity of purchase of land for development around those lakes managed by the Corps.
Sure, and really each one of our lakes typically has a overall master plan, and when we do those master plans, they kind of give a 20 to 25 year outlook for what we envision the activity around the lake and at the lake is going to be, and that goes for not just the lakes in eastern Kentucky, but all of our reservoirs. And we are in the process of updating quite a few of those master plans, not only within the Louisville district, but also within the Huntington district. And so, we welcome those type of conversations to be able to discuss that. Sometimes the operational characteristics of the lake having to do with flowage easements and things like that, especially when you're in an area with pretty steep terrain, that water can come up pretty quick. So, folks may not realize how much land we actually need to operate the reservoirs correctly there. But we're definitely open to having that conversation. I know that Jessica and Logan have my contact information. And so if you want to just shoot me a email or something like that, I can put you in contact with our operations folks, both in Louisville and in Huntington, to at least discuss that option and get you with folks who are a little more familiar with the situation to be able to better address that question. other than me, who's kind of just addressing it in real general terms.
Thank you, sir. I look forward to that.
All right. Do we have any other questions? No? Seeing none. Thank you so much for being with us, and that was very educational too and informative there. We appreciate you being with us. All righty.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
At this time, I'm going to pause just for a sec. Was there anyone online that joined us? I think we might have had one late visitor. If they want to record that they're present. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Cinder Higdon. Oh, we lost you. We saw him briefly.
yeah, this is Jimmy Higdon. I'm present.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else out there?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
this is Representative Dossett. I am present from the 9th District.
All right. Thank y'all for being here. All right, we're going to... All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to something dear to my heart here. So, U.S. Army Fort Campbell, and we have Colonel Jordan, our garrison commander down at Fort Campbell, and Miss Kelly Pendleton, constituent of mine. It's always good to see both of y'all, and I believe y'all are on virtual, aren't you? They are. And if you don't mind, introduce yourselves just for the record, and then please proceed.
You want to go ahead? Oh, good morning. My name's Colonel Andy Jordan. I'm joined this morning by Command Sergeant Major Joe Harbor, my right arm here at U.S. Army Garrison Fort Campbell, and also to my left, Miss Kelly Pendleton, our civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army for this district, as well as our one of our leaders in the Campbell Strong Defense Alliance group that provides tremendous support to Fort Campbell, both for our military service members, our installation, and their families. So first off, thanks Lance for the warm intro earlier. And I think we do have a great relationship between our two installations. We receive awesome support from Fort Knox when it comes to training opportunities. We've got so many highly deployable units here at Fort Campbell that real estate wise, there are times when we just have to get folks someplace to train, and Fort Knox always seems to have their doors open for us. A little intro about myself. My history, my family's history with Fort Campbell goes back to the early 2000s when we were first stationed here, and I was assigned to the 5th Special Forces Group at the very beginning of the war. And just like Lance mentioned, this was my number one choice when the Army asked me where I wanted to come command as a colonel, and I told them Fort Campbell. And there's really a couple of reasons for that. It's an awesome place to live and work. The communities that surround this installation are second to none. Out of the many places that I've been stationed with my family across the United States, there's truly no place like Fort Campbell. People ask me where Fort Campbell is located, and kind of my catchphrase is it straddles the state line between Tennessee and Kentucky, and is 2 miles down the road from the promised land. And I truly believe that there's no better place to live, work, and raise your family than right here in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So as we move forward, I'll go to the next slide. And whenever I say that, it's not just me, sample size of one, saying that truly is the Department of Defense. And at the end of the day, the Commander-in-Chief said it in 2021. In the early 1980s, President Reagan developed a program to recognize military installations in each branch of service, and won a year that were awarded the Commander-in-Chief's Annual Award for Installation Excellence. So for the United States Army in 2021, for work done in 2020, the President recognized Fort Campbell and our team here as the most outstanding installation in the United States Army. A couple of things that really made that happen. Of course, Fort Campbell aligns with Department of the Army and Army Chief of Staff priorities, and that's people first, readiness, and modernization. But it that is outlined in our strategic support areas of soldier, civilian, and family readiness, installation readiness, strategic power projection, and those really define what Fort Campbell is, along with the installation, along with our community partners. But just so you know, we were recognized at the highest levels, and will continue to strive to achieve that in the future as well. Slide, please. So one of the questions that was asked was, what is
Colonel
Fort
Jordan?
Campbell?
Can I pause for just a sec? Can you maximize
Yes, sir.
that screen a little bit? We're having a harder time seeing that. We see the whole computer screen. See if they can maximize that a little bit, if they could.
You go to presentation.
And if you can make it a little bigger from there.
Slideshow.
Go to slide. Yep.
Can you guys see it now?
It's still seeing the whole computer screen, so it makes everything a little small.
That might be the best that it's going to get, though.
All right, we'll deal with that. I don't believe we're kind of seeing some of your slides, and I don't think those are ones that we have in our packet. So,
Okay, you guys do have a hard copy.
Not of the ones you've been showing so far, sir.
Okay, I'll work with the team here and make sure you guys get a copy of the slides that we're presenting.
That'd be great. Please continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I apologize. The era of virtualness is not a friend to any of us. So the question was asked, why is Fort Campbell important to national security? And what I would tell you is that Fort Campbell is home to some of the most deployed units in the United States Army, especially in the last couple of decades. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, the catchphrase has always been that when the president calls, the phone rings at Fort Bragg, and it may to a degree, but I'll tell you, on 9/11, the phone rang at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. You had elements of the 5th Special Forces Group and the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment within days of 9/11 were deployed into the region of Afghanistan, and they were followed closely by 3rd Brigade Task Force Rakkasan of the 101st Airborne Division. So truthfully, the war that we just ended as the most lengthy war in our nation's history was led by units directly from Fort Campbell. Prior to that, the 101st Airborne Division has taken part in every operation since the division's formation in 1942, to include World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and all of the smaller wars in the 80s and 90s, and then of course the global war on terror. If you look at the patch worn by the 101st up there with the eagle, Old Abe is probably the most recognized patch of any military insignia in the world. So just a little bit of history since the global war on terror. The 101st Airborne Division headquarters and its subordinate brigades have completed more than 40 deployments in defense of the nation. Those deployments typically ranged from 6 months to up to 15 months in duration. And then when you look at the 160th and 5th Special Forces Group, due to the uniqueness of their mission sets, it's a little difficult to ascertain the exact number. But I'm pretty comfortable in saying that between 5th Group and 160th, each of those smaller organizations have executed literally hundreds of deployments in support of the global war on terror. Thankfully, in the last several months, after multiple back-to-back rotations in Afghanistan and Syria, Iraq, and other places within the Central Command area of responsibility, all of Fort Campbell's soldiers are home for the first time in 20 years. All of the brigades are home from the 101st. 5th Group is home, and 160th is home. We still have soldiers out on training opportunities and things like that. And there's approximately 700 soldiers from the 101st Airborne Division that are deployed in the continental United States at Fort Pickett, Fort Lee, and Fort McCoy in support of Operation Allies Welcome, which is bringing home our allies from Afghanistan. So we're still playing a part. But that's a great thing for our soldiers, for our families, and for our community to have all of these soldiers home for the first time in 20 years. The other question was, what is Fort Campbell's role in national defense? And Fort Campbell is a power projection platform with capabilities to support multi-domain operations. We're able to project power globally when called upon using air, maritime, rail, and roadways. Fort Campbell's airfield is one of the country's largest CONUS airfields at 10,926 feet. It can airlift soldiers and equipment direct into theater, and any aircraft in the United States Department of Defense inventory can land at Fort Campbell Army Airfield. Rail is a primary method that we use to deploy equipment and vehicles, both CONUS and OCONUS. And then, of course, we've got a barge facility on the Cumberland River, which ties in with our Corps of Engineer partners. And then roadways, we've got easy access to I-24, I-65, and I-40. Next slide, please. So how does Fort Campbell impact and support Kentucky? Or go ahead. I'm going to skip through this next slide. It just, if you have it in your packet, it gives some specifics on just land use, number of ranges, and things like that. But in the essence of time, I'll skip on to, you should have a slide that says the impact of Fort Campbell. Fort Campbell has an active duty population of about 27,000 soldiers. About 20,000 of those belong to the 101st Airborne Division, and the other 7,000 belong to tenant organizations on the installation, such as 5th Special Forces Group, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, 52nd EOD Brigade, 531st Hospital, and the 716th MI Battalion. Fort Campbell also supports a population of family members, and about 50,000, about 6,000 civilians come to work on Fort Campbell every day. Those are Department of the Army civilians. And we have contract employees, military retirees in the region number about 70,000, and then just a hair over 90,000 retiree family members remain in the region. Why I give you all those numbers is the total supported population of Fort Campbell is just shy of 250,000 people. That includes the students that go to our school districts. That includes retirees and spouses that make up a good portion of our employee base in the region. For a total economic impact on this region, and if you look at my slide, it says in Tennessee, and that is that slide was that economic impact statement was done by the Center for Economic Development or Economic Research in Tennessee in 2019. So, but if you look at the overall region there that we cover, Fort Campbell has an economic impact of $10.1 million or $1 billion on the Tennessee, Kentucky region, Trigg County, Christian County, Stewart, and Montgomery. If you look over just at our disbursements in FY20, were $5.3 billion, and that ranges everything from soldier and retiree pay, civilian pay, contracts, MilCon, military construction, and other disbursements that we had. What I will say there, as far as strictly for Kentucky, we had contracts in Kentucky to Kentucky contractors in FY20 that amounted to about just a little over $85 million in contracts to Kentucky businesses. Slide, please. What does Fort Campbell need from Kentucky to achieve its potential and show the legislature how the legislature can help? And I would say that one of the main things. Let's see, what slide are we on? I'm going to skip this one. You have that. I'm going to skip the next one and go down to that slide, please. So one thing that's really unique about Fort Campbell is that about 31% of the soldiers that leave the service from Fort Campbell decide to stay in this region. That's above the Army average by 7%. So, and that's a true testament to our communities. With that being said, you're looking at an employee base of between 4,500 and 5,500 soldiers that leave the service, whether those are first-term soldiers or retirees every year that can go directly into your local businesses and into the local economy to provide a ready and able workforce that is goal oriented. They're trained in leadership. They know how to be at the right place at the right time in the right uniform. So in my opinion, they would be considered model employees. So we push about 4,500 to 5,500 a year out of here, and of those, 31% automatically stay in the region. There's about another 20% that we assess to be flexible on where they stay, and opportunities that could be provided by the state, by the Commonwealth of Kentucky, could heavily influence that other 20%. One thing that we do have here at Fort Campbell to assist our soldiers and family members as they transition out of the military is we have a really robust soldier transition program and spouse employment program that provide opportunities and can become that connective tissue between the soldier, the family member, and potential employers. Soldiers begin this process 12 to 18 months before separating from the Army, and at that point they can begin working with employers, conducting internships through the career skills program, and get connected to potential employers. We can also do that with spouses. In the era of remote ability, I think that our military spouses are a great opportunity for employers to look at as far as a labor pool that is looking for employees that are motivated, looking for work, but have essentially in the past been kind of looked over because they're married to a soldier, and that soldier is going to do a permanent change of station every 2 to 3 years. So I would really like to have some of your folks come down and visit our career program, our spouse employment program, and look at ways that we can partner with organizations like the Kentucky Department of Labor and other organizations within the Commonwealth. So barring any questions, I know we're short on time, but I would like to pass it over to Miss Kelly Pendleton and just give a shout out to her for all the excellent work that she does with the community to support soldiers and families here at Fort Campbell. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colonel. Can you guys hear me?
We do hear you.
Okay, perfect.
And your slides are projecting right. Or, well, no, close enough there. But we do have at least your slides in our packet.
Yeah. Let's see. If I can get this to go away, then I can. Okay. Can you see it? Can you see the slides? I'll try to get it big here in a second.
Yeah. They're similar to the last one, so we'll just make do, and please proceed.
Make do.
Kelly, we got to try to squeeze it in within about 5 minutes, if you don't mind.
Okay, well then I'm going to go quickly through here. You've heard about Fort Campbell. I'm not going to go into that. 2 key points that I do want to make, though, is again, largest employer in Kentucky is Fort Campbell, and the economic impact. You just heard it with the disbursements, about $5 billion, but really, once you add those multipliers, that comes to about $10 billion. Campbell Strong is similar to the Knox Regional Alliance that you heard from General Iacocca. Our focus is really supporting existing units and missions at Fort Campbell. We are advocating for modernization, development, and improvement of the installation, and attract defense-related companies to the Fort Campbell region, especially in those aerospace and aviation areas. Improve post-private partnerships and connections, and support employment and transition services and workforce partnerships. Those are a few of our successes. It was a mechatronics program that we did a partnership with several regional colleges. A Campbell Strong workforce partnership that really helped connect transitioning soldiers and spouses into the workforce. And again, recruiting different companies to the area and support a future vertical lift, which again, a big thanks to the committee for letting us even speak to you today, and to you, Representative Thomas. I know you came down, we're part of the state resolution. We appreciate the state very much passing that resolution to support the Army's modernization efforts of aviation assets. That's a little bit of what that looks like. So they're still in deciding which prototypes they'll go with and but that's a glimpse of the future of helicopters And so that's something that plays a critical role here at Fort Campbell, given our aviation components. So really, what does that mean for all of you? Because you're not down here. So I'm going to skip to the parts that really apply to you. You've seen this before. I know Representative Dossett has this hanging in his office. I hope he still does. That's what we're looking at. That's the state line. You can see where all the development is going versus, you know, on the Kentucky side, not much there. So Kentucky opportunities. I'm just going to get to the nuts and bolts of it. Workforce. So companies are now looking. Where they're looking and where they're deciding to go and set up and expand really depends on that workforce. They're following that workforce. There's 300 to 500 soldiers that transition every month out of Fort Campbell. That's every month. And then their spouses with that. And the spouses are often making the decisions. So a huge talent pool to pull from. Population growth. One thing that I hear from leadership from the state over and over is looking for population growth. With Nashville pushing north and growing, we actually have 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers less than we did 10 years ago, and yet the congestion is 10 times as worse because the growth is just coming. It's that urban sprawl from Nashville. It is coming north. It's a great opportunity to look at this region for population growth and workforce and invest in this region. So multipliers such as education, investments, and resources, again, more multipliers that come with those numbers as you're looking at what does that soldier or that veteran or that retiree bring to the region, a lot more than just his person or her person. So barriers to growth. Income tax, we know you heard General Ikoka speak about that. I think I've testified before you all about 4 times on that. Really looking at, we have a lot of commanders down here, a lot of soldiers. They are exempt as long as they're active duty. My good friend Colonel Jordan here, he may decide to live in Kentucky right now, but as soon as he retires, actually I don't have to talk about him. My good friend Command Sergeant Major Harbor, who's right across the table here, he is actually getting ready to retire. He lives in Kentucky, but when he does retire, he may choose to go 2 miles across the state line because he's not going to have his civilian or military pay taxed. So really would like to keep working towards tax reform and supporting our military veterans and retirees and recruiting them to our Commonwealth. Second is education. Still working to do a lot more in education. A lot of times that's one of the top deciding factors when families are looking to relocate. 3 is housing. A few years ago, I'd have put income tax and education at the top. Housing, I would put now at the top. The demand is really growing. We've heard from Fort Campbell leadership and the garrison over the last couple of years that now Tennessee a lot of times is now outpacing the soldiers' allowance, housing allowance. So they're still looking for additional housing that meets our soldiers' needs. So really we need housing we see that across the board. You saw in Todd County, there was a huge company, Novellis, that relocated there. Really, we're trying to recruit people to live on the Kentucky side, but again, a lack of housing stock. So that's a critical component that we need to figure out. And then finally is workforce opportunities. So again, investing in this region, recruiting businesses that match the skill sets of our talent and the soldiers that are leaving. Not only, and that's a big, broad gamut because you've got folks that are younger that have been in 2 to 4 years, and then you've got, those commanders all the way up to like the ones you just heard from today that have a very unique skill set and really look to stay in the region because of the low cost of living and what all it brings. But we've got to have jobs that match what they're able to do once they get out. If nothing else, be proud. You have some amazing assets in the Commonwealth. You've heard from Fort Knox and Bluegrass, but the 101st, Fort Campbell is home to the 101st, 5th Special Forces, your Green Berets, and some of the most elite helicopter pilots and programs in the world. So if nothing else, if you haven't, I know a lot of you have been down here. We were happy to host you before. We'd love to host you again. But be proud that you've got this jewel in your crown because it's quite remarkable. Again, the Fort Campbell and the Fort Knox alliances are here to really support our installations and at the same time support the Commonwealth and the opportunities that those installations bring. Thank you again for your time. I know we're a little bit over, but I appreciate you letting us take time to talk to you today. And as always, we appreciate all the committee's efforts to pass productive and progressive legislation and policy to support our military. Thank you.
Kelly and Colonel Jordan, thank you so much for your presentation. We always love having you up in person, but I know it's quite the drive there, so we appreciate your testimony. Do we have any questions by any of the members, virtual or in person? Anyone virtual? We're good? Well, thank y'all so much. We appreciate you being here, and we will go ahead and move on. And we have in person Colonel Steve Doris. And if y'all want to come on up, and if you have, please, yes, have a seat. These microphones have a little button right there that says push. Just make sure you kick that on, and please introduce yourself for the record. And please proceed.
Good morning, everybody. Committee chair and ladies and gentlemen of the committee. I appreciate you providing me the opportunity to come share with you today and tell you a little bit about Bluegrass Army Depot, a small area, about 14,500 square acres, just to the southeast of the city of Richmond. And just to kind of give you an opportunity to tell a story of what we look like today, currently, and then what we're going to transition to in the very near future, FY24, FY25 timeframe. And so that as your constituents across the state begin to hear and see rumors turn into reality, you're able to track with them accordingly. So real quick, I want to share with you that first off, do you have access to my slides? Are they up? I don't have a screen facing me.
Do you have anyone that can maybe sit next to you? Would you care to catch slides or anything for them? They're probably loaded on that far laptop.
Okay.
Maybe.
While they're bringing those up, I'll go ahead and just share with you really quickly that similar to Campbell, we've been around since 1941. They started construction. They grabbed a patch of grass and decided they were going to put a organic industrial base in an area that was cow country of Madison County. And so 1942, after construction was completed, they opened for business and began providing munitions and material support in support of the war effort overseas. We are Kentucky's only defense and industrial base. So there are 26 locations across the United States of America where material is either produced from scratch, or it is maintenanced, or it is demilitarized over the course of a life cycle. And so you have one of those locations here within the Commonwealth. What makes us a little more unique from Fort Knox and Fort Campbell is the fact that we are AWCOF, Army Working Capital Fund. So we run a business. To include my salary, we have to pay that out of HUD. So as we work, we generate revenue. Currently, we generate about $120 million annually. And then there's a cost or an expense to run in the depot, all the machines, paying the employees, providing the security, the utilities, et cetera, that go along with that. And so once you subtract out those expenses, you hope to be operating in the black and not in the red, because over time, if you continue to operate in the red, what eventually happens is your rates to your customers go up. And you need to maintain competitive rates because you have competition to your left and to your right within the organic industrial base. And so if you aren't careful, you can quickly have your rates become uncompetitive, and the customers out there will take their businesses elsewhere. And once doing so, that bodes poorly for your location. Yeah, this is a good spot here. Thank you.
All righty.
So going back real quick. So we do have linkages, close relationships with Fort Campbell and Fort Knox. So we get a lot of support from both of those locations. I don't know if any of you are aware that go back one slide, please. That in the case of a national security event, we have the only remnants of chemical material, surety material stored at Bluegrass Army Depot. All the nerve agent in the entire United States is here. We're working very quickly to get rid of it. In fact, I think the VX campaign will be done December, January timeframe, and we'll only have GB sarin left. and that should wrap up about September, October of 2022. And once that's complete, all of the chemist surety material at Bluegrass Army Depot will go away. And we will meet our OPCW treaty requirements. Everybody will cling some champagne glasses and be very happy that the storage of that chemist surety material will no longer be a requirement here. But that said, in case of a national security level event like a September the 11th, we have an augmented security force that actually would flex from Fort Knox, Kentucky to help provide exterior security at the depot to ramp up very quickly our force protection conditions. So we could go to a delta, we could close the gates and have a very militarized presence at in and around the depot. They can flex there via ground convoy or flex there via CH-47. So that's a prepare to deploy order that has been in existence since 2000, and we exercise that unit rotates out about every 6 weeks. We also share a energy contract with Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So it's about a 50-year-long, $36 million contract wherein the two of us get our maintenance from City Light and Power and have sustainment of our security our electrical infrastructure provided by way of that contract. Also, the DUM, so think of cyber support also comes from the servers and the server support that's provided there at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Fort Knox is right down the road, about 110 miles away. They provide us good opportunities as well for a lot of chaplain support, soldier service support, as well as the VA hospital that was mentioned earlier. We've got one in Lexington, and then we have some of our vets actually seen at the more robust capabilities and facilities there in and around Fort Knox, Kentucky. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they come and look at our bridges. We've got bridges, we've got dams, lakes. We have relationships with them, and they come inspect those. They do all the construction projects and all the environmental cleanup projects that we've got that are on the larger scale are done by way of that office there out of Louisville as well. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and transition really quickly. So strategic support is what we provide to the East Coast of the United States of America and what we provide to the Department of Defense. So I'm sure most of you are aware of recent events in Afghanistan. About a third of that munition support came from Bluegrass Army Depot. As you look where we're strategically located, we're too far north for the hurricanes to get you, too far north to be in Hurricane Alley. We're on the western side of the Appalachian Mountains to protect us for any sort of significant emotional events from earthquakes, tidal waves, whatnot. And we're also well postured to be able to get to most of the power projection platforms on the East Coast of the United States of America within a 8 to 12 hour drive. Most of the munition support that departs us on day-to-day operations leaves via truck, and we have a very robust trucking network because of the fact of the I-75, I-64 corridor straddles or intersects just north of where we are strategically located. We also have easy access to rail. We have about 40 miles of rail infrastructure and a major rail spur that connects right to our front door. So if we're moving anything to a seaport to fill a ship up full of ammunition, that's going to leave via rail, and that's an easy half-day's trip for us. Most of your Air Force and Army Special Operations ammunition is stored at Bluegrass Army Depot. Most of the Navy Special Warfare ammunition is in Crane, Indiana, right up the road about 2 hours away, just outside of Louisville. So if there is a quick requirement to put boots on ground, similar to as previously briefed by Colonel Jordan, from 5th Special Forces Group, 3rd Special Forces Group, some of our Joint Special Operations Command elements, their ammunition stores and stocks, if they don't have them on hand, will flex from our location. And we also have non-standard ammunition stocks located at Bluegrass as well. So if we're going to send special operators into a foreign country to do foreign internal defense, and they need to have ammunition types on ground ahead of time to learn how to train the foreign soldiers with that foreign material, they have access to that material at our location. And then within the physical security bubble, because of the chem surety material mission that we have at Bluegrass, we are the most Fort Knox-like of any Army Material Command location. So we have 3 concentric layers of security from our outside gates to our interior, over 370 personnel that work in securing that chem surety material in this 14,500 acre footprint. Next slide, please. So these are kind of a quick understanding of our core competencies. If you look at the yellow boxes, you'll kind of see, speaking to what I just briefly made mention to. So we have strategic outload capacity. We are also higher headquarters for Anniston Munition Center, co-located at Anniston Army Depot, and provide command and control and budgeting efforts for them, leadership and guidance. Scranton Army Ammunition Plant, I'm also higher headquarters for that organization. So they press, forge, and finish most of the medium diameter 155 projectiles that are subsequently then load, assembled, and packaged at Iowa's Army Ammunition Plant, and then put into the inventory. You see there the top right, we talk about the non-standard Army ammunition. But to the green boxes there, if you can see, we also have, we're selected by Tank and Automotive Command and Army Sustainment Command to be Army Preposition War Reserve location. So when you look at the East Coast, West Coast of the United States of America, and you want to have quick access to 150-man, 75-man base camps that you can quickly put onto ships, quickly put onto airframes, deploy into a theater, these boxes pop apart, and suddenly you take these cans and turn them into small cities. We are the 3rd largest location for the storage of those capabilities. And we have direct customers, or R North, in case we were to have contingency requirements here within the continental United States, as well as Army Central Command. So that is something that people often don't know that we do workload-wise there at Bluegrass. And then we also, chem defense equipment. If there is a joint warfighter wearing a JS List suit, an M50, M40 protective mask, atropine injector kit, that comes from Bluegrass Army Depot. Also, the non-lethal combat equipment. In the recent past, we've had lots of civil unrest in some of our major cities, especially the National Capital Region. Of late, that riot gear, quote-unquote riot gear, that non-lethal combat equipment, it emanated and generated from right there at Bluegrass Army Depot. We had about 5,000 sets of that equipment, so we can outfit about 5,000 sets of those personnel. With the storage stocks that we keep and maintain there under lock and key. You see the bottom boxes there. We have 2 tenant activities, the Bluegrass Chemical Activity. So they have responsibility for storage and safe securing of the chem surety material I referenced earlier. And then you have the Bluegrass Chemical Agent Destruction Pilot Plant, which most everybody is very familiar with, BGCAP. They are the rich uncle at the northern side of the installation that I refer to, that is actually tasked with providing for the destruction of that chem surety material. All total, Bluegrass Army Depot is about 2,400 personnel. Once the Bluegrass Chemical Activity and the Bluegrass Chemical Agent Destruction Pilot Plant, both of those missions sunset, like I said, in the fall-winter time frame of 2024, then you're going to have left about 550 personnel at Bluegrass Army Depot. So you see the top number there, 770, 769 DA civilians. Some of those, about 200 of those, are tied to that security, firefighting, emergency services mission set. So when that requirement shrinks for that level of security, that level of firefighting capability, so will some of the numbers of those DA civilians that currently operate on the plant. So when it's all said and done, looking forward into 2024 and beyond, all things being equal, and if everything stays status quo, you're looking at a footprint from 2,400 down to about 550 moving forward. Next slide, please. Economic impacts. So most of you probably seen and heard made mention of the large amounts of money that the Department of Defense, by way of PEO Aqua and by way of DoD CSEP dollars, have pumped into the 10 surrounding counties around Madison County. And so this is separate and distinct from that. The employees that work there in support of BGCA and BGCAP, they are your higher paid employees within the Madison County. The average pay for a non-chemical related employee there, you see, it's about $91,000 annually. That's a fully burdened rate, so that includes all their thrift savings plans, insurances, and all those other things. So you see, just depot employees, the economic impact is about $151 million annually there for the depot and what it provides. So we have a large amount of veterans within our footprint, and a large number of those are disabled, and use the local services provided to them in Madison and Fayette counties for their long-term medical needs. Next slide, please. So moving forward, what is the Chief of Staff of the Army, what's the Department of Defense kind of focused on right now is, so we know at some point we're going to transition away from legacy systems, the M1 main battle tank, the M2 Bradley infantry fighting vehicle, the AH-64 attack helicopter, CH-47 troop transport. Those things are going to go away, and we're going to transition into new capabilities, new platforms of the future. Well, as we look at that, what are those capabilities that we want to bring here to the Commonwealth so that we can do that maintenance work, we can do that production work, we can store that and issue that and distribute that, whether it be ammunition or other material support. That is what we are spending large amounts of effort and time right now as depot leadership working to achieve, in conjunction with JMC, and which is my higher headquarters, and Army Material Command's guidance and direction. So real quick, are there any questions for me?
All right, members, do we have any questions for Colonel Doris, or anyone? Give virtual world out there a second to respond to, if anyone out there. Everyone sounds pretty good. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Senator Meredith.
Thank you for your presentation. It's very informative. As you make this transition that you're talking about and going to Army or organic industrial base, do you say that creating additional positions to replace ones you've lost or will be losing? Is there a projection regarding that?
So if nothing changes 2024 and beyond, the current workload that we have capacity to support right now is a footprint of about 550 personnel, sir. If we gain additional workload, additional missions that we can workload there at the depot, then obviously our working TDA can change, and we can increase the number of employees that are working there at the depot. Our footprint changes, ebbs and flows as necessary to support the requirements of the organic industrial base.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and appreciate the work that you do and the commitments you made to the Commonwealth. But great presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments or questions? All right. Gentlemen, thank y'all for both being here and taking the time in this rainy day. We're going to move on because we only have about 25 minutes left here. So we're going to pull Kentucky Environmental Foundation, Craig Williams. I think he might be out there in virtual world with us.
I am. Can you hear me?
We can, sir. And please introduce yourself and proceed.
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Craig Williams. I am have a number of involvements with the Chemical Weapons Disposal Program. I'm the host community liaison between the Madison County governments and the Pentagon on the program, as well as serve on the Governor's Commission and co-chair the Citizens Advisory Board with the county judge from Madison County. If we could show the slides, please.
Sir, we don't have any. You didn't send any slides. Do you have them on your computer where you can share the screen, or because we did not receive any?
Okay, well, I did send them in, but I don't know if I have that capacity or not.
Well,
So
that's okay. Can you just go ahead and give your testimony, and we'll make sure Jessica gets them out to all members if we get them there.
I appreciate that very much.
Thank you, sir.
Just basically, I wanted to cover a couple of areas associated with this effort. As Colonel Doris mentioned, we are in the process of moving towards closure on the program once we get rid of the rockets that are stored here. The current status is we've destroyed about 158 tons of chemical warfare agent, including all of the mustard projectiles, all of the GB projectiles, and all of the VX projectiles. We're currently working on the VX rockets. And unfortunately, 2 days ago, operations had to be suspended because the agreement between the Chemical Weapons Disposal Program and the local hospitals require that the hospitals have vacancies in order to assist should there be any incidents at the chemical weapons disposal facility. The hospitals are now full, and so with that criteria not being able to be fulfilled, operations at the plant had to cease temporarily until we can get past this surge from the COVID situation. As the Colonel mentioned, we're on track to be completed with the operation somewhere in late fall, early winter of 2023. We're looking forward to that point where we can close the facility down. The project has spent over $190 million on Kentucky companies and spent about $111 million spent on Madison and surrounding counties for an acquisition. The local payroll due to this project has been a little bit over $1 billion since the program began. And the current employment right now at the operation is close to 1,500 people, which leads me to the one of the emphasis areas we're looking at right now, which is what do we do with 1,500 high-paid, highly technical, highly technically trained, and importantly, very carefully scrutinized from a security standpoint. We have a unique workforce associated with the project, and how do we continue to have a positive economic impact with those people once the project is over. So with the help of the Kentucky Commission on Military Affairs, General Bullard and Ms. Shane, we were able to secure a OLDCC grant recently. The Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation provided us a grant for close to $500,000 to look at 3 specific areas associated with the closure of the operation. Those areas include regional supply chain mapping, economic diversification, and workforce retention, the latter of which is our real primary focus. Is we don't want to lose, obviously, 1,500 highly paid workers. The according to the current statutory requirements for what do we do with the infrastructure once the facility closes, the language is very clear that all of the facilities have to be either decontaminated and destroyed or would be reused had they not been affected by any potential chemical warfare agent. The decision-making in that context is left up to the Secretary of the Army and the Governor of the state, along with the many regulatory offices that are involved in making sure that everything is environmentally sound before it transitions into some other use. And working with Colonel Doris, the depot, and JMC and others, we've been honing down our focus on what equipment may stay at the depot in order to further its primary mission or to attract other missions into the depot. Things like the access road and the water suppression systems and all of the utilities and so on and so forth. There are also some major pieces of equipment there. There are two what they call static detonation chambers, which are enclosed chambers for the destruction of explosive materials. Each one of those is priced at about $50 million. And there is discussion between the depot and all the other interested parties as to whether or not those two SDCs can be maintained on the depot in order to provide support for their primary mission, which is conventional weapons and the disposal of obsolete or unusable weapons that are come in and cannot be shipped out to the warfighter. The SDCs may be a more environmentally and protective way of disposing of the conventional weapons that the depot has to deal with in its primary mission. That's what I've got, and sorry I couldn't have the slides printed up, presented to you, but I appreciate the fact that General Bullitt invited me back. The good news is that we have finished 3 of the 5 campaigns. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel after a long and tedious effort to continue and to finalize this project. And we will be the last site in the United States of America to dispose of their chemical weapons stockpile. And once that's done, we will all be celebrating the fact that the United States no longer possesses these weapons of mass destruction. So with that, I'll thank you very much. Take any questions.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. That was really fascinating. And it just shows how COVID is touching everything that we're doing across the nation. And for you to have to suspend that, we hope that resumes quickly there. Do we have any questions by any of the members or anything? And we did find the slides. They kind of got routed a different direction, but we will be sending all the members copies of the slides there after the meeting. Do we have any questions? All right. You did a great job explaining there. We appreciate it, Mr. Williams.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to go on. We got 2 more presenters, and I think we can get here pretty close to time. So U.S. Coast Guard Sector Ohio Valley, Captain Amy Beach. Is she online with us?
I am. Yes, sir. Good morning. Appreciate the opportunity to highlight the important role that the Coast Guard plays in the safety and security and economic prosperity of Kentucky. I don't have any slides, so unfortunately, you're just going to have to stare at me while I talk. Currently, we have almost 300 active duty members assigned, 163 reserve, 18 civilian Coast Guard employees, and about 1,300 volunteer Coast Guard auxiliary members that work for the Coast Guard's Sector Ohio Valley, headquartered here in Louisville, Kentucky. Coast Guard has 8 small boats. They conduct 3,500 underway hours a year, enforcing waterways safety and security zones across 1,040 miles of the Ohio, Cumberland, and Tennessee rivers. It improves national security by thwarting possible waterborne threats, including but not limited to potential terrorist activity, use, possession, and transportation of illegal drugs, boating under the influence of alcohol, and recreational boating safety, all of which help secure Kentucky's multi-billion-dollar maritime transportation system. Coast Guard operates a vessel traffic service in the metro Louisville area during periods of high water. Was established back in 1973 when in 1972 there was a near disaster with chlorine barges that broke free and ended up being lodged in McAlpin Dam. Miraculously, there were no injuries during that, but it did require a large evacuation of the Portland section of Louisville and other surrounding areas. So the Coast Guard, working in conjunction with the Army Corps and maritime industry, developed broader mitigation strategies for the Ohio River and its tributaries. And we've outlined that in what's called our Waterways Action Plan, which includes trigger points and mitigation measures for high and low water events in the hopes of preventing marine casualties in what proves to be a constantly changing and very challenging river environment. Coast Guard inspectors insure 1,346 commercial vessels, ranging from passenger vessels to 30,000 barrel chemical and crude oil barges that transit the Ohio River, arrive safely at other ports around the U.S., which helps maintain national security through chemical feedstock and production processes, fuel for the nation's energy grid, and agricultural products to feed the global community. As part of our commitment to preserving public safety and security on the inland river system, we permit and patrol a significant number of marine events, such as Thunder over Louisville and Riverfest, among others. These events have drawn well over 500,000 spectators, with Thunder over Louisville alone having attracted over 800,000 in the past. We work closely with local and state partners, as well as the event planners, to plan, coordinate, and execute waterside activities that ensure these events remain safe and secure. So far this year, the Coast Guard's search and rescue operations have saved 50 lives in Kentucky, assisted over 217 mariners, saved over $1 million in property, and assisted in saving or salvaging another $19 million, adding a return value of $480 million to Kentucky's workforce, according to the Department of Transportation's economic value. Sector Ohio Valley and the Coast Guard have 2 Kentucky-based inland river cutters. They're 65-foot tenders. They establish and maintain the aids to navigation over 663 miles of the Ohio River, as well as 376 miles of navigable water found within the state of Kentucky. We are the only part of the Department of Homeland Security agency with a presence on Kentucky's geostrategic maritime asset. We provide interagency DoD intelligence pertaining to maritime national threats, and we have a pretty robust communications platform to address events centric to Homeland Security and national defense, such as maritime threat response incidents. Coast Guard has designated 33 maritime security response operation zones within Kentucky. They're based on key port areas, vessel traffic routes, security zones, critical waterways, anchorages, and risk target data. We've conducted 371 small vessel security boardings so far this year and enforced these dedicated zones. As the designated federal maritime security coordinator for Kentucky, I'm responsible for overseeing 8 area maritime security committees. This membership includes representatives from federal, state, and local agencies, as well as maritime industry and stakeholders. Sector Ohio personnel participate in the security plan meetings, including exercises and boat drills with your local and state partners. And through these interagency partnerships, Coast Guard personnel have provided guidance and training to state and local law enforcement and search and rescue focused agencies, which in conjunction with Coast Guard patrols have reduced threats to Kentucky's critical infrastructure by 90%. In terms of how your installation impact or how we impact and support Kentucky's economic growth, inland river towing vessels and barges make up about 80% of all U.S. flag vessels. And the inland river barge capacity is 16 times greater than rail and 70 times greater than truck. But to maximize the use of the river, it requires infrastructure to provide critical connection points to international markets. Sector Ohio Valley is charged with the safe oversight and regulation of the maritime transportation system, and we have members that oversee and influence Kentucky's 2,950 maritime-centric jobs, according to MARAD, which provides the state of Kentucky $177 million in direct labor income, while representing $270 million in the state's GDP. We regulate 44 waterside facilities, which receive, store, refine, process, and redistribute liquid and solid cargoes vital to industry, supply chain, production. In 2020, we provided over $1 million to local Kentucky municipality first responder organizations through the Port Security Grant Program. Sector Ohio Valley spends about $500,000, a little more than $500,000 on leased business and office space throughout the state of Kentucky as well. In terms of things that we need from you all, additional incentives for infrastructure along the river system, such as cell phone towers to aid in communications with commercial vessel and recreational boaters, access to existing and placement of additional cameras along the river system bridges. For example, Cincinnati has cameras that they allow us access to, and it's proven useful when conducting search and rescue cases. Improvement in dedicated communications equipment such as 800 megahertz radio and river channel to local and state agencies to facilitate effective dedicated maritime communications during a multi-jurisdictional event such as Thunder over Louisville. Continued investment in marine assets and training such as the National Association of State Boating Law Administrators and Incident Command System for local and state agencies to improve multi-jurisdictional interoperability. And really would like to see some support to reestablish an EPA Region 4 representative in the Louisville office. The position was never filled when the incumbent retired over 3 years ago. So the only support that Kentucky gets from EPA comes out of the Atlanta office right now. We also would like to encourage attendance by any members of the legislature at our area Maritime Security Committee meetings. We hold them in the larger cities like Louisville, Owensboro, Evansville, just to kind of show support and see what it is that we do with your local law enforcement and first responder agencies on a daily basis. So again, thanks for the opportunity to share with you what it is that the Coast Guard provides to the state of Kentucky, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Captain Beach, we appreciate you testifying. Can you tell me who's responsible for filling that empty slot at the EPA or so?
I can get back with a specific name of who you can reach out to the EPA on getting that body filled, but it basically ends up leading to either state agencies having to go and respond or the Coast Guard having to respond to fill that gap. But I'll get you a name as soon as I can.
Okay, that'd be great. If you could just forward that to us, that would help. Do we have any members that have any questions for Captain Beach? Virtual also? You did a great job. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you hanging with us. I know it's getting to be a lengthy meeting. We appreciate you being here. We're going to go ahead and move on to our last presenter, and it's always good to see General Bullard here, kind of our low energy general here. So go ahead, General. You probably don't need any introduction, but please do so anyway and proceed.
Well, thank you, Chairman Thomas. I'm Brigadier General retired Steve Bullard, Executive Director, Kentucky Commission on Military Affairs, and I'm going to be very, very quick. I will share one slide here. I'll attempt to do that, and hopefully you can see that now. But first off, welcome to our world. This is KCMA, the defense community in Kentucky. It's what we are all about, and it's our partnerships. Just maintaining situational awareness and knowledge and relationships throughout the greater defense community. And this doesn't even include the National Guard, which is a significant part of our defense community, and the business community, which is another $9.7 billion of economic impact overall. So there's just our relationships with Knox Regional Development Alliance, Campbell Strong, Craig Williams, and the folks over at in Richmond, and all of the military commanders around the state. It's essential to our being able to advise the legislature, our members of Congress, and the governor on what's going on in Kentucky. And there's a lot. And as you can see from the one slide that I will share, is that we're huge. Kentucky's overwhelmingly an Army state. Love what we got from the Coast Guard there. And in fact, I'll work with Amy to get some more information on the Maritime Security Committee meetings and when they're held, and get that out to you as well. But we, 94% of all our military direct spending is Army related. We've got obviously Fort Knox, Fort Campbell. We have 55,000 DoD personnel. I like to say we play well above our weight. So we rank 17th in the number of personnel in the United States, 14th in the amount of money spent, because a lot of our folks here are in the higher ranks in the Fort Knox area. So we're 14th in our average salary, basically, for DoD. And our total defense spending in Kentucky is $22.3 billion, hugely significant. And that's 8th in the nation in relation to our GDP. And there's just some other interesting points. We're home to nearly 300,000 veterans, over 24,000 of whom are female veterans. And did you know 44,000 Kentucky school children self-identify as having close military contacts? We have one of the largest DoD providers in the nation in Humana in Louisville with their $6.7 billion TRICARE contract. So that you've got the slides that I've given you, and always available to talk more in detail. We love doing it. We've got a series of podcasts we're doing now called All Things Military in Kentucky that'll be out on our social media. And we have our 5 strategic goals that we worked through the legislature and our commission. And I point out that Jim Iacocca, the head of the Knox Regional Development Alliance, he's the chairman of the Kentucky Commission on Military Affairs, and Kelly Pendleton is a member of our executive committee. But we protect and we grow DoD installations and activities. We work to help expand the economic impact of Kentucky's defense-related industry. We're developing the model for transitioning service members, and in KRDA and Campbell Strong, you have, and Craig and his group, you have just such great partners in that area. And we want to establish Kentucky as the most military-friendly and military-ready state, veterans ready as well. And I want to foot stomp the military retirement tax exemption, because you can't compete for that unless you have that. 35 states have it. All of our neighbors have it. We do not. And people like the command sergeant major for Fort Campbell and other senior military leaders are choosing to retire in other locations when they could be community leaders here in Kentucky. We need them here. And that's a major part of their decision-making process. And again, we communicate strategically and we gain advocacy. That's what we do. It's a pleasure to work with the Kentucky General Assembly. Any questions?
All right. Thank you, General Bullard. And we do continue to work with Chairman Petrie and Chairman McDaniel on the Senate side and try to make it where we can get more retirees at that higher level to, well, we want all retirees to, reside in Kentucky when they decide to retire. Do we have any questions for General Bullard? It's always great to see you, sir. And thank you for getting me right on time. I got 5 seconds until 12 o'clock. And if there's no other questions or anything, our next meeting will be at 10 o'clock on Wednesday, October 20th. We're working on that agenda. If there's any ideas too, come see me. And if not, we stand adjourned.